listen.
Never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Can't get enough baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
If there were two guys that I would want to be talking to right now, it is Gordo and Sammy of the Play Tessie podcast. For a good reason, because we are taking today's podcast and we are spinning it into the glorious, glorious conversation that is how impactful postseason performance is when it comes to free agency. So we're doing a little bit of the present and then we're doing a little bit of the future. Wow. I mean, I am just building myself up, praising myself for getting this group together. So first of all, Gordo, say hi.
What's going on, Rob?
Nothing. Okay, Sammy, say hi.
Hello, everybody. Hope you're enjoying playoff baseball.
Oh, okay. Let's get right to it. Sammy texted me, said I might have to leave early. He said he's going to cook dinner for his girlfriend. I said, well, jump off whenever. He says, okay, cool. I'm making butternut squash, mac and cheese with feta, smiley face with sunglasses. Then he follows that up saying, I think I tore my UCL prepping the squash. I put that on Twitter saying this is I forget what I put. It is disturbing on many levels. First of all, it sounds disgusting. I know that people have come to you on social media and said, that's delicious. Squash mac and cheese with feta is just, to me, disgusting. Congratulations.
Hey.
And so anyway, before we get to the nuts and bolts of this podcast, and by the way, we got some good ones coming up. I am taking the Baseballs and Boring mobile down to Boots on the Ground Baseballs and Boring Road Show, and I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to go. This is how it's lining up. Is this like delicious? You can go to the Yankees Royals. You can go to might be the Mets Phillies. Who knows? But first, how did you almost blow out your UCL cooking this disgusting squash-based food?
What is this?
You guys have never heard of butternut squash mac and cheese? It's not even uncommon.
No.
I can't even picture what it is.
No, it sounds gross.
It's
like when you put feta on it.
Yeah, well, you need like a salty to cut the sweetness of the butternut squash. But I have to correct the record. I didn't cook it. I just prepped it, which, in my defense, is very difficult because cutting through the butternut squash, that thing is like a rock. So you really have to put a ton of weight on the knife. And it took me probably 15, 20 minutes to do because these things are like big. Like they're like a foot long and like 6 inches wide. It's a big food item. And so I was cutting it and just the pressure from pressing down from so long, it just hurt my elbow. And it's still a little bit sore, but I'm recovering and there was no pop. So I think I'm good. And also, it was really delicious. So, phooey on you two, you're missing out.
Worth the elbow pain for the deliciousness?
Yeah, I had one bowl of it before we started recording, and I'm going to have one when we're done. So,
wow.
It's very good.
So if you have the payoff of someone saying this is delicious, this is the best squash-based mac and cheese with feta I've ever had, and you still blow out your ACL or what? I keep saying I thought it was your knee for some reason. I was like, why? How did you blow out your knee?
UCL
Cookie. I know.
Could you imagine?
But it would be even better if you blow out your knee like this, rolling on the ground in pain with feta cheese all over your face. So, but it's worth it. And so if someone says delicious, someone said this is the best thing I've ever eaten, and you're in an elbow brace, it's worth it. It's much like what all these players are putting themselves on the line when it comes to the postseason. See what I did there?
Yeah,
very good transition.
Smooth transition. Seamless.
Absolutely scrumptious.
Thank you. All right. Well, thoughts and prayers to whoever eats your food, and thoughts and prayers to your elbow. But I appreciate you powering through, both of you powering through off of what a long day, because it's a long day of baseball. I love that it's like one game after another, after another, after another. Boom, 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 boom. Let's go. Like the glorious game of baseball. Did you guys watch a lot?
Oh, yeah. I work from home, so I just had them on either low volume or mute all day long while I work. Just glance up. It was great. Super, super smooth.
Yeah. I have a gripe. Because I love that the games are back to back to back to back. I think that's awesome. They schedule it perfectly. These series and I had the issue with the wild card game before too, but they got to be. It can't a 3-game series. It can't. It's not the way baseball was meant to be played.
Did you like the one and done?
Yes.
No. Yes. I think every series should be 7 games. I even have a problem with the 5.
We played in December.
No. I think they should just shorten up these wild card rounds, make them one. That was like the most exciting format ever. I don't dislike this format that they're using now, but I just think like I went to one of the wild card games.
Right.
Red Sox Yankees 2021.
Best crowd ever.
That was
okay, but
it's Game 7. It's a Game 7. It's a built-in Game 7.
You say it, but then if you come out on the losing end, like I feel shitty for these fans.
Gordo, do better. Do better.
I mean, you're gonna lose sometimes. Sometimes
no, but
one of these days.
It's like it's like Houston. Boo hoo.
I gotta take. It was the perfect balance because right now you see people complaining like, oh, you're rewarding these not as good teams and they get this playoff series like they don't deserve to be there. The 1-game wild card was the perfect incentive to still go for it, still go for making the playoffs, not just punt at the deadline, but like really go for it because you want to make it to the playoffs, but you don't want to be in that wild card game. So I thought that was perfect. This format, I like it, just not as much. It's not.
Maybe
I'll say this. Go ahead, Gordo.
I was just gonna say because right now, Sammy, you're right. Before it felt like if you make the playoffs, you're good to go, except for like if you barely got in, then you have to do the wild card game. So you better really make the playoffs. Whereas now it feels like this is the playoffs and only the truly elite teams get the bye. And even that feels like at times a disadvantage.
Well,
so
I agree. Well, it is. And so I tell you what, if I'm these teams that are waiting around, if I'm the Yankees, if I'm the Phillies, if I'm the Dodgers, if I'm the Guardians, I'm crapping my pants a little bit because we've all been trying to figure out this format, who has the advantage, why is this happening, why does Arizona and Texas make it to the World Series, all of this stuff. And I think that the biggest takeaway that has carried over, and we were wondering if it would, is momentum. It's as simple as that. It's the good vibes, it's the playing well, because if it wasn't that, then the Mets would have gotten off the plane from Atlanta after pouring beer and champagne down their gullet, 12 hours before, and they would have lost and they would have laid an egg in Milwaukee. But no, they didn't. You know why? Because they felt good about the way they were playing baseball. That's how it works. And I think that's how it is working. As long as you have a good enough pitching, which is another thing. I mean, I think that this, and we're going to talk about this in a second, and the theme, of course, is going to be what players, what free agents to be, have the most, who have the biggest chance to maybe make a ton of money by playoff performances. And we always focus on the starters. But, so far, look at some of these games, man. Like the bullpens, the teams that have won, the bullpens have been locked down. With the exception of Jackson Jobe, poor kid.
Ironically, the one team that really spent on the bullpen, Houston Astros, their setup man Presley and Josh Hader, their closer, both had bad games.
Yeah, and so I know that Hader's going to get a lot of crap.
A lot of hater.
A lot of hater. But see that drink they made, some Haterade?
Yeah, what did they call it? Oh, yeah, it was Haterade.
Yeah, Haterade, yeah.
Good marketing play.
But
nice little 2-day drink.
But I look at it this way, he had a really good year. And I put this almost more on Presley. Presley was supposed to be this locked. Presley was supposed to get to that point where you didn't have to bring in Hader in the 8th. they're both to blame, but still, I don't. You still have to have the bullpen, and if you ask the average fan, okay, name 5 guys in the Detroit bullpen, good luck.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, Lucas Ursig is a guy, and everyone's scrambling the Baseball Reference like, who did they give up to get this guy? Like, why didn't teams get them?
Who's the other guy? Like Zerma?
Did they gave up
for the Royals? No, the guy who's like setting up for Ursig, Zerpa or something. Yeah. He's the guy that nobody probably knew who that guy was a year ago. And now he's a key piece. Same with Ursig.
And then there's that dynamic that, that graphic that they put out about how Detroit's entire 26-man payroll was less than Josh Hader. Which, Sammy, I'm glad you tweeted at me like what you did, which is don't let the Red Sox ownership say this. I mean, I think you can say this by a lot of teams because it's times like this where these misguided owners are like point to it. It's like the Tampa example on steroids, not literally, but the Tampa example on steroids. Well, look what we can do. Like, no, this is an aberration. It's an aberration.
Yeah, and then look at the other teams that are also in the playoffs. Like, look around them.
Top 6 payrolls are all in the playoffs, and the only one that's not a repeat playoff appearance is the New York Yankees, and they're almost always in the playoffs themselves. So, breaking news, it helps if you spend a lot of money on your team.
Yeah, you know what? I'm pretty sure when the game's on the line, the Dodgers don't mind having Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani, like standing between them and either elimination or moving on.
Did you see what I said the other day when Lindor hit that big home run to get the Mets into the playoffs? I'm like, wow, great moment for Lindor. That's great. But I don't think he'll be playing that well in 2031, which is really what matters. And
yeah. Good point. Good point by you. All right. So the reason I wanted to do this one is because I always find this fascinating. I think the guys making money off of a few weeks of baseball is bizarre to me, but it happens all the time, where you have very smart front offices and they get seduced by these 2 weeks, these 2 week stretches. And then all of a sudden you have guys doubling what they would make. The example that I always say, 2018 Red Sox, 2 guys. And there's plenty of other examples. Nathan Eovaldi doubled his contract by what he did in the postseason. Joe Kelly got a 3-year deal after almost not making the postseason roster.
That was literally like exclusively from his playoff production.
Yeah, that's a great
3-year
example.
deal. And Cora said this. He's like, he had to convince everybody that they'll put him on the postseason roster. There's plenty of examples like this. Go back, to stick with Pablo Sandoval. Oh, he wins the World Series MVP, and I remember them saying this. I couldn't believe it. Oh, yeah, we know he has like a 730 OPS, but he performs best on the biggest stages. Just look at the World Series, and this is the big stage. No, and Julio Lugo, same way. Like, no. So anyway, I've been going through this list, and there are a ton of candidates for this. We've already seen some guys step up, but I mean, I'm just going to put the ball in your court. I have my names. I want to know who jumps to mind for you, who you say that guy at the end of the day will be making a lot more money when the offseason rolls around than he would if their season ended today or a few days ago. Gordo, you can go first.
So, man, I'm not sure if my guy's going to end up putting the numbers up in the postseason that he's going to need to do to get the money that at one point we thought this guy was going to get. But if he does perform in the postseason, Walker Buehler, who in the past and for his whole career has been known as this playoff horse, and he's coming off a few down seasons, but I'd completely forgotten about it until I saw Tyler Glasnow, and I forget who he was interviewing with, but he was talking about what was going to need to happen. Oh no, I take it back. It was Blake Trinan with you, Rob, I think, saying that Walker Buehler is going to be one of the, he's going to need to be a guy for the Dodgers to make it where they need to go. This is a guy who, let's see, in his playoff career, 15 starts, 79 and 2/3 innings, and a 2.94 ERA. Like, that's a guy who has carried them in the playoffs in the past, and he's been that guy that the broadcasts can't stop talking about. Like, oh my God, this guy Walker Buehler's carrying them. But then you look at the numbers this year: 16 starts, 5.38 ERA. This is after not pitching last year. And I mean, he's a free agent, but I don't think anyone thinks he's getting the qualifying offer.
No
maybe
chance.
like a 1 year, like he's going to get like the Jack Flaherty type deal to me right now. Like
But
1 year,
not,
10.
Not if he goes on a run.
Exactly.
That's one of the names that I looked at. And when you look at the Dodgers, what's standing in their way, it would seem, is, who's going to start for them. You have Flaherty, you have Yamamoto, who's, he's been okay since he's come back. And then you have Walker Buehler. And then you have Knack after that. They need him. If he's the guy, all of a sudden, boom. Like, I don't know if it changes and says, oh, there you go, there's your 4 or 5 year deal. No. But if you put it this way, if he gets lit up and the Dodgers get eliminated, the narrative for Walker Buehler is going to be like, to your point, 1 year deal. That's it. So.
And then if he goes back to what he was doing, then it's like, does he have that Pablo Sandoval shine? Like, that's a great comparison, I feel like, right there, because Pablo Sandoval didn't have a good regular season for like 3 or 4 straight years before he became a free agent. And with Flaherty, the last time he was really good, let's see, it was 2021. So it's been a bit. But if he performs in the playoffs again...
Oh, Flaherty or Buehler?
Buehler. Yes, Buehler. If Buehler performs in the playoffs, then it's like, man, this guy just crushes it in the playoffs. We saw what he did in the past. It looks like he's regained that form. Like, let's get ahead of the game. Let's get this guy. And, maybe he's going to want to get that 1 year deal. So maybe it's just going to be maximizing like whatever kind of 1 year deal he can get. And can he get that Giolito type player option on the back end of it? But you're right, because I don't think he's getting a 5 year deal or anything like that, no matter what.
What if Walker Buehler pitches well in the playoffs, numbers wise, but his fastball is sitting at 91 miles an hour?
I think I think this is how normally I would say, well, they'll look at the guy who's throwing a 91 mile an hour fastball. But Sammy, it's so bizarre to me. I'm telling you, these very smart people get seduced by the shine of performing on the big stage. No, and they're like, oh, look at him bobbing and weaving his way through with that 91 mile an hour fastball.
Yeah, they'll probably spin it. If he can do it with 90 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah, look, he's going to go to drive line. It's, yay for him.
Yeah,
I think they've seen so many people who are genuinely really good players just flop on the postseason stage that, like, when they see one that works, it's like, oh, that's what we need.
Well,
that's what we need to take our playoff roster to the next level.
Like that was supposed to be. That was going to be Jordan Montgomery before, like, Boris botched it, but that should have been him. I mean, the reason why, like, he was even in that conversation, the reason why Scott Boras could even go to these teams and even suggest what he was asking for was in large part because what he did in the postseason.
Oh yeah, he would have been the answer to this question last year. It just didn't happen.
100%.
Right. Exactly. So let's stick with starting pitching. And so, Sammy, I'll ask you, do you have a starting pitcher?
I do.
Okay.
So mine is interesting. It's a completely different path than Gordo's, because Gordo Walker Buehler is a guy who's had a lot of playoff success, has fallen off and come back. This guy, Sean Manaea of the New York Mets, who just finished his outing as we record. Sean Manaea, good season, 33 years old. But that was preceded by 2 very unimpressive seasons in 2022 and 2023. So I think it's fair to say, with removing the playoffs, teams will have a little bit of pause before they give him a long-term deal, since he's been so up and down. A good way for him to get around that, pitching well in October, something he has not done in the past. He's got an ERA over 15 in 7.2 innings. Lucky for him, he does have a backup plan. If he doesn't get the offer he's looking for, he's got a $13.5 million player option in 2025, but that's pretty below market value for a guy like him. And to illustrate that, Michael Wacha, for example, who had a similar season in 2023, he got $16.5 million from Kansas City. So $3 million more, and he's also a year older than
I
Minaya,
think he gets a better. I think he gets a better deal. I think Minaya, he basically established himself as the Mets' #1 starter. You're looking at a guy. He made 32 starts, 3.47 ERA, and he's all of a sudden he's throwing a fastball 94, 95 after throwing it 90, 91. Yeah, I think that undeniably, I think he's going to get like a 4-year deal.
That's where I'm at with it too. Yeah,
I do too. And then tonight he pitched 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 Ks. So you can get that 4-year deal at what, like 16.5. We'll use the Wacha figure, for example. Imagine if he pitches well in the postseason, that 16.5 could be much closer to 20. So I think he'll be okay regardless, but the contract is going to be way different depending on how he performs in October. And he's off to a pretty solid start. Not incredible, but very solid.
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
How much differently do you think about Sean Manaea entering? So take yourself before the 5 innings, 2 earned runs, because you made this decision that you were going to use Sean Manaea here before he pitched. How much differently do you think of Sean Manaea at that point than you thought of Jordan Montgomery before the postseason last year?
Ooh.
Like Jordan Montgomery may be a little bit better, but there was a point in time in the offseason where we were talking easily 9-figure deals for Jordan Montgomery. I don't know if there's a path for Sean Manaea to get there, but I'm just saying, like,
probably not. I mean, his age, he's 32 now. He's going to be 33 soon. So
that's true.
That's a tough question, man. I don't know. He's weird, though, because like I said, the seasons prior to 2024, they were really bad, especially 2022. He got a little better in 2023, but still not great. I think 4.44 ERA, something like that. So he's kind of come out of nowhere this year. And if he can top that off with the playoff performance, I think teams will be much more comfortable giving him a nicer money amount.
And I think the
year.
difference, and maybe this isn't fair, but the difference between Montgomery and Manaea is Montgomery had that image of, I'm going to give you 7 or 8, right? I'm going to give you 7 or 8. Manaea gives the image of, I'm going to give you 6 or 7. Even if you look at, most of his starts, they're 7-inning starts, but still it's Montgomery's that big workhorse type guy. And maybe that's not fair. I think it's a good comp. I think it's a good analogy. So I'll go with, speaking of which, is giving off that vibe of the workhorse. So giving off, and we did the podcast this week about Kyle Snyder and Zach Gallen both talking about getting through a postseason, the additional innings. I couldn't believe I went back and looked up Madison Bumgarner, holy mackerel, like 52. Crazy. Right, 52 and a third innings or something like that. Extra innings on top of the regular season that he had. We saw Zach Gallen pitch over 240 innings last year. Evaldi last year, I think he pitched over 30 additional innings. So who is going to be that guy who is going to end up there? And to me, it's Flaherty. Flaherty could potentially, listen, he could go out and lay an egg that first one and out. Whatever. But this is sort of the workhorse type guy who, if he gets on that big stage, and he did what we've already seen some pitchers do, honestly, right? We saw the first go round, the Kansas City guys.
Reagan's.
Reagan's in Lugo, right? And then who do we see that first game? Obviously Corbin Burns, but he was out. So you have these guys, and we're always looking who is going to be the guy where you have that game coming up, and that he's gonna basically shut down the other team. We've seen it in our lifetime plenty of times, right? And usually there's somebody like that. Last year we saw Montgomery and Evaldi do it, right? I look at Flaherty as potentially being that guy. He's been really, really good. He has been basically the saving grace for this Dodgers team. So there you go.
Flaherty's an interesting one because I could see it going both ways too. Because if he's the workhorse and they pitch deep into the World Series and he makes a bunch of starts, adds a bunch of innings, and goes 7 innings every time, and kind of sheds that, is he going to go 4 innings and then his back's going to do so? Like, if he sheds that, then yeah, this is a guy whose stuff is awesome and could get a big deal. Then if on the other hand, what if he gets rocked in his first start and then in his second start his back flares up and he's out in the third inning? Then like that label of the whole injury prone guy that he's gonna have a really tough time shedding, because to be honest with you, he threw 196 innings. What is that in like his second full big league season? And this year at 162 was his highest since then.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like with not with injuries, but with numbers. That's kind of what I was thinking with Manaea. Like if he comes out and he gets lit up for the fourth time, he's been in the postseason, had 3 different series he's played in. If he gets lit up again, probably going to lose a lot of money on that deal. We'll still get a good deal, but not close to what he would have gotten if he pitched well. And like we said, he's off to a good start. So hopefully,
I think it's 3 good. A couple other names I wrote down here. The 2 other guys for the Mets, Severino and Quintana, both. Matthew Boyd, the Cleveland. He's come out of nowhere after being hurt for so long.
Crazy that he's bounced back. He bounced around so much after Detroit.
If they desperately need him. And then another one, more of a long shot, Martin Perez. Because I do think, if you ask me right now, I think San Diego, like the Phillies are really, really good. Dodgers are pretty good. The San Diego, we talk about that momentum, and we talk about that feeling good. And so many people who I've talked to, they say when teams and players who have played the Padres say, man, they're a good team. They're a good team. And Martin Perez, who knows? I mean, I think it's more of a long shot, but free agent, maybe he'll make some money.
Well, it doesn't matter who you are. If your team makes a deep run in the postseason and you're a starting pitcher and you're right in the thick of it, it doesn't really even matter what kind of regular season you had. Like, you're going to get paid.
Gordo, if you, this is how whacked it is. You don't even have to start. Like if you're a starting pitcher like Martin Perez, and they say like the Evaldi game in 2018 is an extreme example, but there's examples of guys coming in, boy, those 3 innings on the biggest stage, shutting them down in the clinching game, like what a difference that made, right? I mean, to go back to Joe in 2018, when in that 8th inning of the clinching game where he strikes out the side and you're like, fuck yeah, let's go. That whole thing that made him money.
Yeah,
that 1 inning.
No, it's interesting to me because I like looking at the other side of it, like guys who had such stellar seasons too, who I feel like part of them almost should maybe want the season to end just so there's no potential smudging of their name. Like I look at a guy like Tanner Scott, there is nothing he can do to earn himself any more money in this postseason. But you can screw it up.
Yeah.
To an extent.
Good point. Yeah.
Well, imagine if Hader was a free agent.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So, all right.
Scott would have to close out like 10 games and not give up a single run to get any more money. I feel like
exactly.
He'd have to go crazy.
Speaking of Scott, I have a few relievers who, could be entering in the conversation. And like when we're talking about additional bigger contracts, it could be obviously less years, less money, but still it could make them years and could make them money. The most obvious one is, I think the 2 most obvious, both on the Phillies, with Carlos Estevez and Jeff Hoffman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Estevez is a guy you want.
Yeah. Well, if he goes on, look at what Urseg's doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if he were a free agent, that name, if they make a run, everyone's going to know Urseg.
Because people, how many times when we were breaking down the trade deadline, and I'm guilty of this, I didn't mention Urseg a lot. Like, to me, he was going under the radar a little bit. And, you were mentioning guys like AJ Puck, like Michael Kopech, these guys. But boy, Urseg was nasty against the Orioles.
I got a Urseg fun fact.
He was a position player.
No, even more fun. His middle name is Stijapan.
Ooh.
Stijapan.
What even is that? Is that?
I don't know, but I love it. Stijapan.
We gotta figure out where this guy's family's from.
Yeah.
San Jose, California.
There you go.
It's San Josean.
I think that's Albanian for Farnsworth.
You know who's another guy?
Oh, it's the most niche joke of all time.
What do you got?
I think if Blake Trinan has a big postseason, people could remember that it's not even just how good he's literally never not been great.
He's just been hurt.
He's just been hurt. That's it.
Yeah, his stuff is so nasty.
He's crazy.
Yeah. A couple other guys, as bad as or uncomfortable. I mean, Clay Holmes is a big swing guy, right? It could go either.
That's a good one.
It could go either way with him.
Wait, is he up? Is he up? Is his contract up after
I believe
this?
So.
Yeah, he is.
Ooh, okay, there you go. That's the guy because
that's a good one.
He's been more down than up this year. So if he has a good postseason,
yeah. Let me lump these two together. Clay Holmes and Alex Verdugo, right?
I wrote down Doogie too. I didn't know how I was gonna It's kind of hard to make the argument just because he's been so bad.
Is he going to play? Are they going to play him?
We don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
He might not make the roster, but again, this is to stay with examples that we know going way back. The Derek Lowe thing in 2004. That's what you always remember in cases like Verdugo and Holmes or something like that. The guy wasn't even in the rotation. I mean, he wasn't in the rotation. And it was only because the Red Sox and the Angels went to extra innings and they needed him to pitch. I mean, he was the last resort, and then he's nails, and the next thing you know, he goes on a run. And that's how a lot of times this stuff works.
Yeah,
he was not. I'll never say never when it comes to guys like this, the Verdugo or Holmes.
And what about like if Gleyber Torres catches total fire? Like I'm gonna have such a hard time thinking about what kind of money he's gonna get as it is.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Gleyber Torres. I totally forgot about them. That's a perfect example for this, I think. If he goes off, I mean, middle infield bat, if he goes off, he'll make a ton of money. If not,
yeah, I don't know. He's going to be hard.
So Holmes is a good one. I'm going to give you one more reliever who isn't necessarily going to, this isn't going to be like, oh my goodness, he's going to get a 4-year deal. But if he does really well, he'll keep his train going. And he'll have more options, and that's Adam Ottavino.
Really? Think so?
Yeah, sure.
I think that he's been around for so long. I don't know how much one performance is going to move the needle for him.
No, I'm not saying one performance, but I'm saying like, a guy who pitches well on the big stage.
Yeah, but we already know he can do that. I meant like one postseason.
I don't know.
Ottavino? Isn't he? He's been a postseason guy for a bit.
If I remember correctly, the Sox were not super thrilled about using him in 21.
That's because he insulted Shohei Ohtani and he went down.
Oh, well, the problem with him was that you guy who got on first, he got second. I mean, it was a double. He couldn't hold anyone on. So, yeah. I mean, that's kind of like, it's not a great example, but I just want to throw him in there because I'm looking at relievers.
He's got a 5.68 postseason ERA.
I'm wrong. Yeah, he has not been a good postseason pitcher. But even so, I could use just the same logic. If he pitches well in the postseason one time, is that enough to overlook the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons of not being a good postseason pitcher?
Yes,
I don't know.
Because again, this comes back to the delusional decision makers.
You're probably right. That's crazy to me that these professional GMs get like so.
It is. I mean, Sammy, it is unbelievable. Like I've been baffled by it.
I kind of get it with a starting pitcher more. Like I understand that because that's such a big undertaking to start in the postseason, and if a guy's able to do that, amazing. But a reliever, it's such a small, incredibly small sample size. So that's crazier to me.
Well, what's crazy again is you're literally talking about 2 to 3 weeks of a season. 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah,
but it's also like the latest. Like one thing that you and Rob, when you brought up like Madison Bumgarner throwing all those extra innings in the postseason, I always think, what are their next years after that? Like in a year where you throw like 250 or 260 innings, like can you really recover enough to have a successful full season?
That's why I talked a little bit about both with Snyder and Gallen. And the Snyder, because we've seen teams tie themselves into knots trying to figure this out. I remember after 2013, 2014, the pitchers barely pitched at all. And when the season came, they'd all complained they didn't feel like themselves, and that they weren't alone. And Gallen told me, he's like, there isn't any way you prepare for. I mean, you don't know. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing he said to me was that it wasn't when he was going through it, and he pitched over 240 innings last year, which is crazy in this day and age. But it wasn't. He's like, physically, I felt fine. I felt fine. Mentally, I was exhausted. Like I didn't want to get off the couch.
Yeah,
for
that's.
3 days.
That's cool, but like, try cutting a butternut squash and see what's
know.
worse on your elbow.
Exactly.
These guys have no idea.
Then we'll talk.
Basically, cooking butternut squash. What is it? Pasta.
Butternut squash mac and cheese. It's super common this time of year. I can't believe you guys are acting
I
like
have
it's crazy.
never heard of this. There is
They
no
have it
way
at
that
Trader
is common.
Joe's. Get a Trader Joe's.
no way.
Gordo.
That
You
is
live
the
here at
equivalent.
TJ's.
That is the equivalent. Hold on, let me write this down.
No way.
Equivalent of 240 innings excelling in postseason. Okay.
Prepping one butternut squash is equivalent to
Which is
pitching
more
like-
difficult, facing a Shohei Ohtani or having a really, really successful cut into that butternut squash?
I mean, it's close, but it's the squash. I mean, it's curved too, so you have to have really good knife skills. I had to resharpen it twice in the middle of prepping. Like, you guys,
Oh, that's that work behind the scenes that people just don't get to see.
No, they don't.
this isn't for the faint of heart.
No.
Yeah.
This is like, what is the equivalent in the kitchen of a traject machine?
If someone throws butternut squash at you and you have to cut it in the air like Fruit Ninja, kind of.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Other position players. I got my list. Go ahead, Gordo. What do you got?
I didn't have anyone else that I thought could gain a lot, and the one that I had that I thought could lose a lot just got bounced. I thought if Anthony Santander, if the Orioles went on a big run and he was like on an 0 for 20 with 13 Ks, that's a guy who could have that. Yeah, he's kind of a flash in the pan type label, but that will not happen.
No,
They got bounced.
it will not. You know, and it's funny. It's like, go back to that Orioles team. You know, Corbin Burns is going to make a lot of money no matter what, but he probably made a little bit more money off of that one start.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think so.
because the knock on him was that he's been trending down very, very slightly year by year by year, and then you pitch well in the postseason, that kind of goes away a little bit.
Yeah.
You want my position player?
Yeah.
I thought this was the most obvious one, and I'm a little bummed because he also got bounced today. Alex Bregman.
Yeah.
Because talk about a guy who has been trending down little by little for the last 5 seasons or so. That's an issue. He's also turning 31 on opening day. 2 issues. You can alleviate some of that with one of his signature postseason performances, but you didn't get it. So,
and you know, and it's a good one. And you know who could leapfrog him is Willie Adames.
that was my next guy. I was going to say Willie Adames.
Right, but that's
could
that's
say-
it's he gets bounced too, or maybe the same thing happens. But it was
he just
there to
made a
be
nice
had.
play.
How did you guys feel about the Houston Chronicle saying that Bregman could approach or even surpass $200 million?
I fainted when I heard that. I
I
passed
thought
out.
that was nuts.
That's insane. There's no way. He's not going to sign until February. He's going to be the guy this year who doesn't sign until February because the reasons I just listed. He's trending down. He's 31 on opening day, but he's still very good. So he's going to command a lot of money. Nobody's going to want to give it to him. February, maybe March signing.
Oh, ooh.
Book it. Book it. That's my hot take.
All right.
Back with the Astros or no? Somewhere else?
Ooh. Yeah, I think he'll go back to the Astros.
I think so too.
He'll take a little less and he'll go to the Astros because he's comfy.
That's where I'm going to predict them too. All on the same page. They'll end up trading one or both of Framber and Kyle Tucker because of it, but that's fine by me.
So for me, we've already mentioned some names here, right? We've already mentioned Torres. We've already mentioned Bregman, Adames, Verdugo. There's a couple other names, which I'm not even going to mention Juan Soto. He doesn't matter what he does. Okay, he's going to make money.
It does not.
It really doesn't make a difference what he does.
He could go 0 for 100, and I would still be comfortable giving him $600 million.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just look at Bregman as a Boris guy. Which right now, you know what that means? all I just want to know is who Boris is going to be making quippy little rhymes about at the GM meetings.
I wonder if Boris kind of slows his roll after how rough last offseason went for him.
Come on.
You don't think so?
Back City. Come on, Sammy. It's
Not
his
even
time.
a little bit? You don't think he's going to be like,
blood.
all right, maybe. Dude, out for blood, so he'll be like, look, I'm still a good agent. I didn't overplay my hand.
He's going to be like Tom Brady bouncing back from a first-round exit. Like, he's going to be a killer.
Well, I can't disagree with you guys because I just predicted Alex Bregman's going to be the guy to sign really late. So I agree with you guys.
All right. All right. An obvious one. When you said an obvious one, I thought this is a name you're going to mention. Jose Iglesias.
OMG. No.
Jose Iglesias is now, it's all relative, right? Jose Iglesias is now going to get a major league deal next year.
What if he gets a record deal?
That's funny. That's an interesting way to look at it, Rob, because when you said Jose Iglesias, I said, well, he's going to get a 1-year deal. How much bigger of a 1-year deal could he possibly get? But you're right. I mean, honestly, even at this point, he may have already earned himself a big league deal over the probable minor league spring training invite type deal.
When he signed with Colorado after 2021, was that a major league deal?
Ooh.
Because I don't know. See, this is why I'm asking is it's a great example of what we're talking about, because Jose Iglesias helps the Red Sox in 2021, but not eligible for the postseason roster. So has a good run, does pretty well, reestablishes himself a little bit, but doesn't have the perks of playing in the postseason. So you ended it right there.
Yeah, he got 1 year major league deal with the Rockies.
Yeah. Well,
I can't believe what happened to him. He was supposed to be a great defender, then his defense completely fell off a cliff for like over 5 years, and now it's good again.
Well, it's good.
The power of music, Sammy.
Well, and again, coming back to when I went down and talked to Dickie Scott, he's a Syracuse Mets manager with AAA, and he was just saying how when Iglesias went there, signed the minor league deal, he's like, what do I got to do? What do you guys want to see me from me? And he worked and he worked and he worked and he got better and better and better. He's still not a great defender, especially like he looks pretty good to the eyes. But the problem is that his measurables for these people, they don't like it. And this is why, there are plenty of guys who, and we've seen plenty of them, where you have this injuries in the season and you need a middle infielder to stop as a stopgap. And remember, everyone was screaming for Jose Iglesias last year for the Red Sox, right?
Well, not everyone.
For
not
months.
everyone. Not everyone.
No, but still, like he's out there. He had a pretty decent year in Colorado. Nobody signs him. He's there. Why not? And instead, you go out and trade for Pablo Reyes. And that's my point, is that there's a ton of Pablo Reyes out there. There's a ton of these guys. And Jose Iglesias was going to be that guy. It just so happens he sang a song and he played pretty well.
Yeah.
So, but that's not my guy. And Tommy Pham, another guy who's all he does is win.
Love that guy.
Yeah,
he's great.
Problem with Tommy Pham is that even though all he does is win, all he does is help teams win. He gives the edge and everything else. Is that teams are like his defense stinks so bad, like we can't do it. So, but still, if he does what he did last year, he's going to get a deal. Now he won't get the deal that he wants, but he'll get a deal. So the guy I am identifying is not Jesse Winker, is not JD Martinez, is not Jurickson Profar. It is Teoscar Hernandez.
Oh, I was thinking about picking him. That's a good call.
Yeah. Teoscar Hernandez, who, this is what a postseason run is what Teoscar Hernandez needs to get that 3-year deal that he couldn't get last year. So,
yeah, almost no postseason experience at all. 4 games.
Right.
Do you think he already has cemented himself in qualifying offer zone? I think almost certainly he's getting it.
I don't know.
So. I mean,
because that's basically the deal he's on right now.
Yeah, because listen, it's basically the same amount of money that he's making this year, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
Yeah, just
what
under.
What a good signing by the Dodgers.
Slugged over 500. I mean, how are you not going
He had a great season, and he was great at the end too.
He had a good season. Good season.
Yeah, the defense was like really bad, like bottom of the league. But the bat, 840 OPS, he's hitting over 30 home runs. You can live with it.
Yeah. No. That's my guy. That's my guy right there.
Yeah, if he
Vibes
hit,
guy
if he
too,
pops
right?
like,
Rob, like you've met Teoscar. He seems like a
Great
good
guy.
clubhouse
Great
dude.
guy.
oh, he gave you a lot of honest answers,
Oh,
Rob.
you're so
I love
good.
that.
Yeah, listen. We love honesty.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
he gave you I forgot about that. Brutally honest.
I said, Teoscar, you know, our relationship is built on honesty. Come on. I didn't even have to say that. I said, hey, so Red Sox are interested. Yeah, they offered me 2 years. 2 years. What was it? 2 years, 28. Yeah, that's what they
Oh,
Nice to meet. Nice
so
to
embarrassing.
Good to meet you too, Tay.
And listen, it's the first time I ever talked to the guy.
2 years, 28 for Teoscar Hernandez. Oh, what are they
Yeah.
thinking?
Yeah, 2 years.
Oh,
So, yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, I think we solved a lot of the world's problems today, guys. I love that we're sort of like morphing into free agent talk, but I will say it once again. This dynamic is one of the dumbest / most interesting / most fascinating / most consistent things that we have in baseball. You can make money in the postseason. So
a lot.
yeah. So all right, thank you.